Tuesday evening, everyone. This is Tony, and I'm welcoming you to a very different version of Game-O-Rama Uncut. And I say very different because we're actually not going to be playing an actual game per se. And we're not like recobbling. Well, okay, we're technically recobbling old footage. Anyway, so I'm doing this video because I figured it would be an interesting subject to cover. And I mean, when's a better time to cover it than right after doing the said event that is the subject of the video. So you're probably wondering why this video is titled The Curse of the 200th Episode, or The Curse of the 200th. And that is because the whole story of what became Game-O-Rama Uncut's 200th episode was a complete and utter chaos theory. Just have you ever heard of Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong has gone wrong? Yeah, that was literally everything that led up to the events of what became 200. Yeah, and I'm not gonna throw shade and fault anyone here. I'm not gonna say oh, well, this was bad, or this was bad, or we didn't want him, he wasn't a part of the show. No. I'm not gonna do that. Because regardless of what I'm going to say, I still enjoyed doing the 200th episode. I enjoyed having D Street on. I enjoyed, playing Metal Gear Solid. I'm essentially doing this just because I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of the whole story of how 200 came to be the way it was, in a way, because I feel like it's a fascinating tale of just, again, Murphy's Law and just how it kind of all came back together. So anyway, before we start with that, actually, I do want to kind of give a brief retrospective of the other Milestone episodes. Mainly because I feel like they all deserve some recognition and some story behind each of them. So I guess first things first was the 50th episode, which became Pokken Brothers DX. Kind of unexpected. It was kind of unexpected. I wasn't expecting Pokken Brothers to be the 50th episode. I don't think Janko was either when he guest starred. But it was a fun episode to do. I think we just decided Pokken Tournament because we thought, well, we only have Janko here for a few episodes. Why not just do a Pokemon episode? And so it kind of made sense to do a Pokemon episode. And I think he was the one that decided he wanted to do Pokken Brothers. Or not Pokken Brothers, Pokken Tournament. I don't know why I keep calling it the episode title. But yeah, so that was the 50th episode overall. Fun times. I think that was also the start of the Danny DeVito running joke that we kept up throughout, so far the 3 sessions we've been doing this. Where he's been appearing, every time he appears, we gotta at least throw some Danny DeVito reference. I don't think, though, this was the first episode that had him in the thumbnail. I think the first time we did that was in, I think it was in Rangers. And I think we tried to keep it up as a running joke through at least a good chunk of the thumbnails. I know there's been some, recent ones where we haven't done it when he appeared, but that's been one of the running jokes, so. Anyways, that was the 50th episode. The 100th episode, Tony and Janko's 100th Pikachu performance of the arts, aka Pokemon Yellow. That was another one that kind of came out of left field. Well, okay, it kind of came out of left field, but it kind of didn't at the same time. It kind of didn't come out of left field because when I kind of planned out the session, I was like, oh, in the middle of session 2, we're going to have the 100th episode. That's going to be a big milestone. But then when I realized where it was placed, I was like, oh, it's going to be placed right smack in the middle of July, which we usually try to make July a themed month. That's always been a thing. Every session has to have at least either one theme month, or in the case of the latter half of the session, usually the fall to winter, we try to just do a lot of multi-part episodes. So in the spring session, we do an April run. In the summer session, we do a July run. In the fall, in winter, we usually just do more multi-parters. So I was like, oh shit, this is gonna fall right in the middle of our July session. And I remember messaging Janko because this is before we got here, and I was planning everything out, and I said, well, first things first, we got to know what series of games we're covering. I think at the time we were debating between Pokemon and Legend of Zelda. And I think he ended up deciding on Pokemon, because I think actually it was a very tight decision on that one. I think I aimed for Pokemon because I thought, okay, maybe, because it's the 25th anniversary of the franchise, it would be a nice celebration. And I think he was aiming for Zelda because he thought, well, it's Zelda, we're going to, play Twilight Princess, we're going to play Skyward Sword, we're going to play Wind Waker, all these fun games. But I think it was nice that we didn't do Zelda because I didn't have all the Zelda games, and the realization would have been, oh, we were not going to have that many episodes for this run. And now, we can have that many episodes. I think we're maybe one short, which I'm trying to mitigate that at the time of this recording. So I think it was smart that we just went with Pokemon. But then, when I realized, okay, the 100th episode is going to fall in the middle of that, I think initially the intention that I had was, this is before we officially had an official count of what was counting as episodes and what wasn't, was I thought, oh, the 100th episode might lie with Pokemon Gold. Which, if that's the case, then the episode is going to be titled the Golden 100th. I thought that would have been a cool subject, because, A, it's the start of the next generation, and B, it'll be the 100th episode, so we can make a big golden celebration out of this. And then I decided, well, we have 2 compilation videos we did back in session 1. We did for baseball and boxing. Are we going to count those? And that was a long back and forth until I just finally said, okay, yeah, I'm going to count those. And so I counted them. And and so the actual 100th episode, which was supposed to be golden, got pushed back and unexpectedly then just became Pokemon Yellow. And I remember, because I think the original title we just had was something like Yellow... God, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I think it was just Yellow... Pikachu Yellow or something like that. I don't think we even had an alternate title at that point. I think we just wrote down Pokemon Yellow. And okay, idea for the title will come later. But then when we realized, okay, this is going to be the 100th episode, I was like, okay, I have the title. And so that's how we came up with Tony and Janko's 100th Pikachu Performance of the Arts. It's kind of our big milestone celebration. I think if I had one regret with that 100th episode is I kind of regret the intro. I kind of wish I could have gone back and redid it a bit. A, because I feel like A was kind of... I don't know why I keep saying A. First, because it felt kind of tacky that, okay, the first milestone, true milestone episode that we're counting, the opening is just a literal countdown of every thumbnail. That could have been done a little better. 2... Yeah, it could have been done a little better. So I kind of regret doing that, and I kind of wish we could have gone back and just redid it or something, or just came up with something different for the 100th episode, but anyways, tomatoes. So then episode 150, this was the one where I wanted to say, okay, we're going to do every milestone episode from this point forward is going to be a big milestone. Not to say, Pokemon Brothers DX and Tony and Janko's 100th Pikachu Performance were not big episodes, but we wanted these to feel okay, we're going to do something big, something massive, something unexpected. And I can't recall where the idea fully came from for the subject matter. I just remember saying okay, the 150th episode is going to be something completely unexpected, something different. And I think just one day, I think maybe near the end of session 1, it would have been maybe near the end of session 1 or session 2, I just remember kind of blurting out to my stepdad, I'm like, do you want to be in an episode of Game-O-Rama Uncut? I don't, because I usually don't try to go for my parental figures, to try to get them to guest appear in these videos, because they're usually not very receptive to them. I kind of just threw the hat out there because I'm like, okay, maybe I could just get him, and if I have him, what game are we gonna play? And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think of that one. But the I think the minute he said yes, I was like, all right, good, I'll figure out what slot I want to put you in. And I just knew immediately, okay, he's got to be 150. Just because, A, we got a parental figure. That's a rarity. We're probably never going to get that again. And B, if we're never going to get him again, okay, still, that'll be a good milestone. Just to say, like, we got an actual adult in the show now guest starring with us. And I think the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, he's technically a doctor. We could do something medically related, with this episode. And, so I immediately came up with the title, Medically Sound on the Southern Front. And I was like, okay, what game are we going to play? And there was a lot of ideas, going through my head. I'm like, we could go back to that Saturn game that we never got to play. And I'm like, no, I don't think covering a pornographic game with him is going to be smart. And, there was a lot of stuff going back and forth. I'm thinking, 2 Point Hospital or, any other, medical game. And, immediately my brain just went, Trauma Center. After all, the thinking of, okay, these medical games, this medical game, Trauma Center, okay, Trauma Center. And then I was, trying to think of, there has to be, a main purpose for doing this, other than, jokingly saying, oh, yeah, he's a medic, he's, a biologist, He doesn't have, he doesn't have a PhD in, medical sciences. He's a biologist, a microbiologist. Why are we having him do this? Then, I think around that time, I believe the Omicron variant was it was either Omicron or Delta variant was just starting to spread through the U.S. And I just thought, all right, this is maybe going to be another, one of those rare occurrences we're going to try to actually have a message with this episode. So I pitched that one to him as well, and I was like, all right, so we're going to do these medical games, we're going to have a message. This is going to be our episode. This is our milestone for the session. This is what we're doing. And I'll be honest, to his credit, he was fully on board. He was fully on board for all of that. So I gotta give him props for being fully on board with this one. For as much as it was all just jump, last minute ideas constantly flowing. Again, we've started planning out the 150 milestone episode back, like I said, I think near the end of session 1 or session 2. And I remember just thinking, all right, we got to have something. I don't think I had anything for 150. I think I was just okay, 150. I got nothing. It was similar to 200. 200. I had absolutely nothing. Speaking of a good transition, I guess I would say let's transition to 200. But before I do that, let's talk about alternate milestone episodes. So alternate milestone episodes, the reason I do these are because I feel like there's a certain subset of the fan base that for some reason doesn't count the first string of episodes, the first 34 test episodes. And to an extent I could understand. I mean, if there are episodes that are just nothing but gameplay, I probably wouldn't have counted them, but at the same time I thought, well, technically they did still have something to them, so we did have to count them. Ooh, that was a nice crack. Sorry about that. So I figured, alright, for the fans, for the people that don't believe the first 34 are actual, episodes, they think they're more like the tests. For you, we will do an alternate, milestone. And so the first, alternate milestone episode we did, unexpectedly became Reliving His Childhood, Tony's Gone Quackers, aka Donald Duck Going Quackers. I never knew it was going to be the alt 50. I actually don't think I ever actually celebrated the 50. Now that I'm mentioning it out loud, I don't think I ever celebrated it. So, that may be something. But, just doing Donald Duck was just kind of okay, we need an idea now. And it's okay, what about scrolling through all the Game Boy games I had in my collection? I'm Donald Duck? Sure, I haven't played that game in 20 years. Let's play it. So that just kind of is where that came from. The alternate 100th. That I would say kind of. Was planned out from the start of session 3. I kind of had an idea of what the alt 100th was going to be, but at the same time, I kind of didn't. I would say to an extent that the idea of doing Gunbird and Gunbird 2 was kind of planned, but also wasn't. I kind of knew the Alt 100 was going to be something interesting. I always like to make the alternate Milestone episodes another interesting case where we just play something interesting. Where with the actual milestones, we try to do something interesting. Like, again, 100 technically was in the middle of the Pokemon realm, so we couldn't really do anything, but 150 became the medical episode, and 200 ended up becoming the crossover between two gaming channels. The alternates, I always try to just say, like, okay, the alternates are just going to be me playing a game that, like, I feel like is so out of left field that it would have to be a milestone. So for the alternate 100, I just kind of felt like, okay, Gunbird and Gunbird 2 kind of feels like they could be used as the alternates. And it just, I guess it kind of made sense. So, I mean, they were fun games. I think if I hadn't had them for the alternates, they would have had their own episode. I actually don't think I would have known what the episode title would have been. I think it would have probably been something like Tony Goes to Hell or something like that. I don't know. But actually, it does lead me to the next milestone, or the next alternate milestone, which was the alternating 150. I remember this episode actually didn't have a game at first. I think when I just literally wrote out the alternating 150, I didn't have an idea of what the game was going to be. I was like, alright, it'll be similar to like Gunbird. We'll come up with something at like the last minute and it'll count. Or it'll be like an episode that we couldn't find a title for. How we settled on Deltarune was more or less just because I'd finally like downloaded the game. I was like, okay, I'm going to play this. And we had actually planned an actual title for the episode, which I think was going to be called Under Delta Tail Rune or something like that. I think that was the official title we were going to give it. But then I thought, you know what, that's kind of a ridiculous title. And the more I thought about it, the more I put two and two together. I'm like, okay, I got the idea. Deltarune will be the alternate 150. It kind of made sense. I was like, okay, Deltarune will be the alt 150, and we'll just, the idea will be, okay, we'll try to play through both parts. It'll be a long episode. And, joke's on me, it didn't become that long. And I could say now for the record, if I had done Deltarune chapters 1 and 2 back to back like I had initially planned, it still wouldn't have been the longest episode. It would have been maybe number 2 or number 3. So take that as you may. It still would have probably been either the second or the third longest episode overall. So that's how that all came to be. Okay, so now we could talk about 200. I wanted to talk a little bit about, kind of the stories behind the other milestones. So now we could talk about the 200th episode, aka Metal Gear 200th crossover. So the idea for this episode initially started back, I would say maybe back at the start of Session 3, or it was either at the start of Session 3 or it was while we were in the middle of a hiatus during Session 3. I remember just sitting there planning out the next set of sessions, and I'm like, okay, the 200th episode is going to fall in Session 4. That's going to be in March. Do I have any ideas? And I'm like, I kind of have nothing at the moment. At that moment, I was like, I have nothing. So I was like, all right, I got nothing. I'm going to just sit back, give it some time. Maybe something will pop into my head eventually, like it always does. I would say maybe a week or two would pass by. Actually, not even a week or two. I would say maybe by the time end of October, start of November came around, the idea finally came to me. I was like, I got it. And I was like, okay, we've been trying to do this for, years, and, and I've been, constantly trying to, get this person to, come onto the show. So the initial plan for the 200th episode was to have Yosh and his crew from Failure with Friends, new gaming series, Failure with Friends, crossover with Game-O-Rama. And the initial idea originally was actually to have him not only cross over in the 200th, but to have him actually cross over in the Session 3 finale. So, like, the original idea for the Session 3 finale was to be this big crossover between these two big Let's Play shows. You know, and crossing over with Yosh and Failure with Friends has been an idea that I've been constantly trying to pitch to Yosh for God knows how many years. Like, not even like with just Game-O-Rama UNCUT, but just like with and some reviews, mini reviews, fucking actual Game-O-Rama. I've tried to like pitch ideas of like, oh, maybe we can have you cameo for this. And, you know, he either never responds or he says he's going to talk about it with the guys and they never get back to him and he never gets back to me. And yada, yada, yada. So I sent him out the message saying, hey, I have a few ideas I want to talk to you about. And, you know, these are what I have. So I pitched him something that he could do for his show with me. And I thought, okay, this might be like a fun little thing, you know, some like fun little like crossover fun, you know, between the two shows on his show if he was ever bored or needed the content. And then I said, and at the same time, like, would you guys like to cameo for 2 of our episodes? Would you guys like to guest star? The session finale and the 200th episode. Because, you know, I like I said, I always like to have the milestones be something interesting. And, you know, the 100th episode, we didn't get a chance to do anything interesting because it kind of fell in the middle of a big event month. 150 was the medical special, I guess you could say in a way. So I thought, okay, 200, the plan was to cross over 2 big YouTube, like, Let's Play shows. That was kind of the initial idea. So I sent that all out to him, and he messaged me back saying, all right, I'll get to the, you know, I'll talk about it with the guys, and we'll see what we can do. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm like, okay, great. That was, I think that was, like, late October, early November. So I think my expectation was, okay, he'll get back to, you know, they'll get back to him by, like, early December, and we'll start planning this out. You know, things will eventually work themselves out. Well, you know, we're now in, like, early mid-December, and I'm like, okay, he hasn't answered me back yet. Janko's you know, going to be here in, like, a week. You know, we're going to shoot, you know, his 4 episodes. And, you know, and Yosh is supposed to appear in the last episode for the 4 episode run. And, you know, we didn't hear any word back. Eventually Session 3 came and, you know, finished up. And I was like, okay. So we didn't get him back for that. You know, so I wrote him back. I'm like, you guys missed out on the season finale. That's fine. We'll, you know, try to get you guys in for the 200th. You know, just try to get me an answer back as soon as possible. So more time now passes. We are now in, I think at this point, the point I started talking to him again was like maybe early February, late January, early to mid-February. And I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, like, I kind of need to have an answer on 200, you know, are you guys in or are you guys out? Because, you know, the episode's closing in upon us, you know, like, you know, we are now in, like, February 8th, February 9th, you know, the episode's a month away. I kind of need to know now so I can set shit up. And still, I don't think I got a real answer on that one. So at the same time, I've been constantly talking to, and actually in some ways consulting, Devin from D Street, and we were talking, and I think I said something about like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get, you know, Yosh over at New Gaming to try to, you know, get him to cross over with me for the 200th episode, and he's not answering me back. I said, in the event that I don't hear from him by this time, would you like to, you know, guest star in the 200th episode if I don't hear back from him? And Devin was fully on board. He was all game for it. So I was like, great. But by the time Nathan got back to me, he's like, yeah, sorry, I still never got around to asking the guys. I'm like, or I don't even think he actually got back to me. I think I'm lying about that. Whoops. Actually, I think I just sent him a message. I said, well, I said, you can forget about the 200th episode because I found someone to replace you because you haven't answered me back. Like, at this point, it's like mid to late February. I'm like, you haven't answered me back, and I kind of need to get these episodes rolling. I can't immediately pause after 199 and go, all right, stop. We gotta wait for Yosh. He's the only thing that matters. We have to keep the show going. We can't halt. So I literally sent that out to him. I was like, all right, man, I said, I gave you this time. I literally gave you months to answer me on this. And, and I heard nothing back. And, and I can understand, you're a busy guy. You're there for the holidays. You've been at college. You want to see your family. You want to see your friends. If you're seeing your friends, though, you feel like you would briefly bring up, like, hey, Tony messaged me and he had this proposition for us. What do you guys think? But I guess not. So I asked Devin. Devin said yes. I was like, great. And at that point, my brain was like, okay, now I got Devin, not Yosh. What am I doing for the 200 still? Because I still had no game planned out. I think originally when I had the plan with Yosh, when I had the plan with Yosh being in the 200th, I think I was debating between Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because I thought, well, that might be a fun, we could do it over the internet kind of fun, multiplayer game. We can get all of us in one group, and we could play. And then I was like, maybe Smash Brothers, because that might also be a fun, multiplayer. We get all, his gang, me, all together, and that might be something. And it was just the two of them going back and forth, and I was just like, all right, I guess we're not doing that. And then when it was Devin, I was like, okay, what are we going to do now? And there were lots of ideas floating around. I was thinking, okay, maybe Metal Gear, originally, the plan was, Metal Gear Solid 2, because he has that game. Maybe I can get him to record it, and, he could send me the recording, and we could do the audio, recording separate. That way we could just both watch the game footage and, just talk about it. But, he unfortunately told me at the time, I don't have the material to record gameplay footage. I'm like, okay, so Metal Gear Solid 2's out of the question. Then I thought, well, what if we do the original Metal Gear for, the NES and Famicom? That might be fun. And I'm like, well, Nintendo doesn't have the original Metal Gear for NES or Famicom Online, and it's not on the Wii U eShop. So I'm like, okay, great, that's out of the question. And it was at that moment that I was, looking at the Retro Console Classic editions, and I was like, I think Metal Gear Solid is on the original PlayStation 1 Classic. And I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, it's on here. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing Metal Gear Solid, because that's my last option. I got no other options. He can't, D-Street can't record anything, because he doesn't have, any equipment for that. I have the equipment for that, but I don't have all the games that he does. So that's where we were stuck, and that's where we had to just say, okay, the basic solution was just Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1 Classic. That's it. That's all we could do. And I'm thinking, great, that's wonderful. And then I'm also thinking, shit, I never played Metal Gear Solid in my fucking life. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. So I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. So then the other thing was okay, how are we going to communicate? Because he's in, Michigan, and I'm here in, Georgia. How are we going to make that work? And, the easy solution was just, well, we'll get, Skype. So we both, got our Skypes reset up, and we, did, a test call or two before we even started. I think this was, day of, before we even started. And I was like, okay, great. And I was like, okay, I gotta figure out, how to set up the recording on this, because because the thing that, most people, I don't know if they realize this or not, Skype has a recording function on it. You can record, Skype conversations. It'll record as video, but you can then convert them to audio. So I was like, okay, we gotta figure out how to record the conversation that we're having, A, and B, if the recording is good enough, can we use it in the episode? So that's how we did the test recording and all that. But anyway, so that was all the hurdles that we had gotten through with all that. We were on maybe a week before the episode had to be released. I'm like, all right, I might as well get this done now. So that way we don't have to worry about it, or at least might as well get all this set up now. So that way we don't have to worry about it. And, I kind of messaged him and I said, hey man, I just wanted to remind you, we're about a week or so away from, recording episode 200. I'm getting all the stuff together message me back as soon as possible so we can get this set up. And so, like, I didn't hear from him for, like, a day or so. And I was like, okay, something's going on. I'm thinking, did Devin bail on me now? Is this, like, the curse of the 200th episode? Is everyone just, like, saying, oh, yeah, I'll do it, and then just, like, bailing on me? Or saying, oh, I'll think about it, and then bailing on me? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. So, like, I was thinking, like, okay, what is the scenario that I deal with if Devin bails on me for the 200th episode? And so, literally, like, the alternate idea that I have was, like, okay, if Devin bails on me for 200, then our alternate idea was to literally bump the next episode up to being the 200th episode, which the next episode, as many people know, was Dinosaur Size N64 Loss, aka the Dinosaur Planet episode. That would have been 200 had Devin missed out or Devin had gone back on doing the episode. But, eventually I got word back from him and he explained what happened, something with his phone, something happened, he had to get it fixed. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. He's like, yeah, it was, he's like, had I, known this was going to happen, or had I known you were going to message me, I would have gotten, back to you as soon as possible. It's like, I never usually use, like, the actual, like, PC versions of, like, Twitter and stuff. I usually just use the mobile shit. I'm like, yeah, that definitely makes sense. So that crisis was quickly averted. And I think that was everything in terms of, like, just the production that went into 200. I think after that, like, it was all mostly smooth sailing. I just had to, do what I had to do. He did what he had to do, and that was it. And then we released the episode. The episode surprisingly became a big hit. Like, it wasn't as big as Steamed Hams or Motor MC, but it was big enough. I would say maybe it's, like, the second biggest episode from that week's run. Ooh, sorry, I got, like, hiccups and stuff. But, like, yeah, that was pretty much everything. So, that was the curse of the 200th episode. What do we have up the road next? Well, as you know, April's coming around. So we got our April run coming up. We got a special episode coming on the 22nd of this month, March 22nd. We got a very special episode coming. Look forward to that. Of course, another Star Wars episode is coming up. We also got another very special episode that will be coming before that. Two-parter, a three-parter, and a session finale, which I guess, to wrap up quickly the stuff with Yosh, the last thing I sent him, and we haven't really talked that much since, I actually just sent him, I just tweeted out to him, like, I need to talk to you as soon as possible. The last thing I sent to him was an offer to do the Session 4 finale, to do episode 249, because I thought, well, he missed out on the Session 3 finale, he missed out on the 200th episode. Let's see if we could try to get him for the finale. If we can't get him for the finale, then that's it. And, of course, like, what are going to be the odds that Yosh is going to actually answer me and say, absolutely, let me talk to the guys and actually get the guys on board for this one? I don't know what the odds are. We'll have to wait and see. That's all I can say on the matter. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll have an alternate 200th episode, of course, coming, like, in May, and all this and all that, and just don't worry your little head. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. I actually just downloaded a new emulator, so we're looking at more episodes coming down the road, and it's fun. We have fun around here. So that's pretty much everything for me. This is Tony. I'm signing out. I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone.